Attention.
Ragin Review.
The Ragin Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Ragin Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to Ragin Review. On a beautiful Monday evening, we got the whole crew here tonight. We got Lane, we got Cole, we got Josh, we got Gary, better known as Jerry, and of course, yours truly. Jerry, what is that? Did you get that from somewhere?
No, I just do it.
Okay, I was just curious about that because I noticed you do that, and I didn't know who I saw. There's some famous guy who does it on TV, but I can't think about who it is.
Just gotta add some sophistication to this room, you know.
Yeah, you added something, boys. It has been a wild couple of days. Before we get into the Louisiana Tech stuff, which we already had that conversation on Friday, thanks to Lane and Cole for joining me. We had an emergency pod. We talked to other fans, talked to fans around the Sun Belt about all that fun stuff. And then, it happened today. So we're going to talk about what the insane reaction has been from around the Sun Belt. And, my thoughts, what you guys think. And then we're going to have a special guest on a little bit later to join us from Louisiana Tech that will kind of give us their perspective on what happened. But before we do that, we had a very special guest late last week. We welcomed in our friend Phil Steele, who has been doing the football thing, analytics, and doing his Phil Steele magazine for, I think he said, 40 years, Jerry? It's been a long time, 30 or 40 years.
I think he said 31 years, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Yeah.
Crazy stuff, but he is really on top of things. He always has a really good a good prognostication of the season ahead for all of the teams across both FBS and FCS every single year. So we spent some time talking with him a couple of days ago. If you hear us mention about, hey, is Louisiana Tech going to join the belt? It's because this happened all before the official announcement was made. But we'll get to that interview right now. Before we do, we want to thank our sponsors, of course, Award Master, Dr. Brett Venable, Lafayette Roofing, Eat Lafayette, brought to you by Lafayette Travel, and Ragin Hydration, making not only this show, not only our website, but also interviews like the ones we do with Phil Steele possible. So let's get to Phil. When we come back, we'll give our thoughts on the interview. Then we'll get into the fun stuff.
All right, Cajun Nation, we're thrilled to welcome college football guru, Mr. Phil Steele. He just released his 2025 preseason picks, and Louisiana made a splash. 10 Cajuns landed on the all Sun Belt teams, including stalwarts like Jordan Lawson, Tyree Skipper on the first team, and dynamic playmakers like Zylan Perry, garnering dual recognition. Plus, there's a buzz around Lafayette native Walker Howard transferring in to take over at quarterback. So let's dive into what all this means. First of all, Phil, thank you so much for joining us. Right now, we are in the month of July, and there's no football being played. But I must admit, there's a lot of anticipation from conference realignment. We've got the new video game out, College Football 26 by EA Sports, that everybody's been experimenting with on their gaming consoles. We've got a lot of politics moving around with NIL. And, of course, we've got your magazine being released for the 2025 and 2026 season. This time of year, I got to ask, do you get a break even though there's no football being played, or is it like nonstop right now to prepare for the upcoming season?
No, this is actually my break time of the year. During the magazine season, which is 7 months, begins the Sunday after Thanksgiving, goes all the way through the start of June. A lot of 80-hour, I'd say I'd average about 80 hours a week. And then during the football season, when you got 65 games to keep track of each week. I'm watching 12 games on Saturday, then watching replays during the week, trying to keep track of all the power ratings, all the latest news. That's about 100 hours a week. This time of year, I'm kicking back, working maybe 50, 55 hours a week, just doing 6 or 7 radio shows a day. It's like being on vacation, guys.
That sounds good. Look, when you do something that you love, it's almost rewarding at the same time. I know right now it's for us, we kicked off season 8, but at the same time there's some things we're doing in the background to really get ready when competition starts in August. But anyway, Phil, let's get down to business. Let's talk about the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns, and I'll start with this question. Prodigal son Walker Howard comes back to Lafayette. He returns home after stints at both LSU and Ole Miss. Of course, he grew up right down the road from us. What traits does he bring that make you excited about the quarterback position in this new era of Louisiana football?
Well, I tell you, he's got elite arm strength. That's a nice place to start. He's an effective runner. I feel he's got a good feel for setting up blocks and moves around well in the pocket. So he's really everything you like in a quarterback. I think he steps into a really good situation here. And, from what I took, I think he's got good leadership skills as well. So I think when you're looking at Walker Howard, he's poised to have a big year this year.
So, this is his first time as a starting quarterback in a while since his high school days a few years back. I do have to ask, are there any concerns from you with his lack of playing time in college? Do you think or do you think he'll just pick up from where he left off after a good high school career at St. Thomas More High School, where he was highly touted as a 4-star quarterback?
Yeah, quarterback's always a position where you want to have some experience. You take a look at Ben Woolridge, maybe not the physical attributes that Walker Howard has, but the experience level helped him have a great season last year. 17 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions. You always wonder about, reading defenses, how you're going to adjust to the game time. But I think Howard's going to step in and do extremely well. So a little bit of concern for the lack of experience, but not a great amount. I think he's going to be a solid addition, and I like the way he worked with the team this spring.
Phil, 10 players were named to your preseason list for the Sun Belt Conference. Of course, we had Lawson, Skipper, Perry, Sampson, another transfer from LSU, and a couple more. What does that say about Louisiana's identity and playmaking potential this year? Do you think we'll be a more offensive-minded team, or do you think it'll run on the back of the defense this year?
I think they're going to be strong in both areas, really. I do think the offense is going to be more explosive despite having just 3 starters back. And last year, they brought in a new defensive coordinator, and while they had 8 starters back, got off to a little bit of a slow start, but then picked up as the season went on. And now they've got just 4 starters back, but I think it's the second year of the defensive scheme. So I think they're going to be strong on both sides of the ball.
Now, Zylan Perry, of course, is very highly touted across really all of America right now. He's getting a lot of the preseason nods as both a running back and kick returner. How important is that kind of versatility? When you're looking at a close game and they're one play away from taking the lead or winning it and providing that spark on special teams, a dual kind of threat player like Zylan Perry, how important is he for the Louisiana offense this year?
I think very important. And, you've got 2 really solid running backs, but I think when you look at Perry, he's probably the most elusive of the running backs. He runs between the tackles well. He's improved his ball security, which is a big thing, but he creates things when they're not there, and that's big. He did a great job as a returnee last year, and I think having more running backs than just Perry will allow him to return kicks. And so I think that's a big part of what's going to help Louisiana this year. And
I think that was my 1B question to this is Bill Davis. He's not appearing on a lot of radars. And Louisiana fans, we love Bill Davis because we've seen his explosiveness. He can he can run it down your throat. He's just he's a bulldog and a bulldozer at that. Do you think Bill Davis is kind of like an unsung hero that may rise up and really give that, as you said, second or third running back option for Louisiana this year? I think it'll be really important. What are your thoughts on Bill Davis?
Yeah, a great. I love the two differences in the style of backs that they have. I mean, Bill Davis, as you touched on, is a guy that's a big guy, runs between the tackles. He's more of a bruiser at 225 pounds. And then you got Perry, who's elusive. I love it when you have a different running back combo like that. It really throws the defenses off balance. And they've got other players as well. You look at the true freshman Darryl Smith, who comes in. He's a patient runner, never really in the wrong spot. And then Blanco, the redshirt freshman, is a guy that probably turned the corner this spring, another patient runner. So I like the type of different types of running backs that they have. I think that really helps the offense.
You know, Phil, of course, behind every good running back comes a great offensive line. Let's talk a little bit about the Cajuns' offensive line. They returned some experienced players like Jax Harrington and Bryant Williams. How critical is that offensive line to continue for a spread offense with a new signal caller like Walker Howard at the helm?
Oh, it's huge. Go back to Oklahoma last year. Oklahoma had 0 returning starters on the offensive line. And then, of course, the receiving corps got banged up as well, and they struggled all year. I'm on the Joe Moore Award Committee, so I emphasize offensive lines. And if you look at my picks for the top teams in the country, they generally have a solid offensive line. And so I think offensive line's huge. And when I went over the team with Coach, he said that this is probably the best depth he's had on the offensive line since he's been there. Feels good about 10 guys. And when you have that kind of depth, that's good because you can overcome some injuries during the course of the year. And I think there's good talent up front across the offensive line. I like the depth. A lot of coaches want to talk to them. They want to go 8 deep on the offensive line. They want to have 8 guys that can play. To have 10 guys that can play is pretty much a luxury.
Yeah, in the last 10 years or so, Phil, our offensive line, we've prided ourselves on having some good offensive linemen. I think if you look at the 2019 regular season, I think all 5 guys are on an NFL roster or have somehow played on an NFL roster. So we definitely have a history of, especially recent history of some good offensive linemen have come through here. And I'm sure it really helps when it comes to recruiting there.
Yeah, 6.3 yards per carry that season. So that tells you what kind of offensive line they had that year. That's when you're getting almost 6.5 yards every time you run the football, you're going to win a lot of football games.
Well, let's hope that 6.3 yards per carry carries into this year. It should be exciting to see. Let's move over to defense real quick. You know, last season we saw an impressive regular season run, just cut short by late season defensive collapses, especially in the last 2 games against Marshall in the Sun Belt Championship and TCU in the bowl game. Can this veteran-laden defense close out big games and tight matchups coming up this year?
Yeah, I think they will. And to me, the key with defensive lines, a lot of folks talk about the starters on the defensive line. Sometimes they'll talk about the backups, but I think the best defensive lines go 3 deep. And when I talked to Coach, he said that, yes, indeed, they go 3 deep on the defensive line. They've got their top sack man back in Cam Whitfield, who had 6 sacks last year. And going 3 deep allows you to rotate, allows you to keep fresher during the course of a game, allows you to keep fresher during the course of a season. So I think going 3 deep on the defensive line is huge this year.
Let's talk about depth at the quarterback position because that's really untested this year. We had the luxury of having Chandler Fields behind Wooldridge or Wooldridge behind Fields, but this year we don't really know what that looks like. In your view, how prepared is Louisiana this season if maybe Howard gets injured at some point, which knock on wood, that doesn't happen because I feel like we've paid the football gods over the last few seasons. But if the unfortunate situation does pop up or he maybe gets off to a slow start, what does the depth at quarterback look like for you?
Well, when you look at Daniel Beal, he's a redshirt freshman. And the one thing that I think the quality that stands out most about him, he's a smart player that can identify defenses and coverages. And that's really what you want out of the quarterback position. Not necessarily a game breaker, but somebody that's not going to get you into trouble. And I think mastering the offense like he has is a big plus for a backup quarterback. And then you look at Lunch Winfield, the sophomore. That guy's a truly gifted runner. And, he got some good reps in the spring, which were good for him. That's a nice player to be able to throw on the field. And when you have a run threat at the quarterback position, that's always good. So I do like Beal and Winfield in the backup positions.
Would you, as head coach of the Cajuns, run lunch more in a Wildcat formation? Because we didn't see that a whole lot last season. And I understand, again, you're trying to protect your quarterback room in case of injuries. But man, I want to see lunch in a Wildcat. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you can have a quarterback that's that mobile, that can run the football like Lunch can, I would use him in that position. I think you will see it this year as well. I think you will see him on the field in the Wildcat position. You know, it gives defenses something else to prepare for during the course of the game. Even if you only use it 4 or 5 times, it's something that really throws a curveball at them and also keeps your quarterback fresher.
So, Phil, I got to ask, Coach Desormeaux comes in his 4th season at the helm as Louisiana Ragin Cajuns head football coach. What, in your opinion, would constitute a breakthrough season for Coach Des, especially if Walker Howard performs well and the defense lives up to the preseason hype?
Well, last year they sort of had a breakthrough year, going 10-2 before that tough end of the season. But I think this year the key is going to be just staying healthy overall. It's really a big factor in college football. I think they do have good depth to overcome some injuries at some key positions, but playing like a Missouri early on, that's going to be a tough test early in the season. Playing James Madison on the road is going to be tough. But other than that, I think the key to Louisiana this year is going to be a certain home game on November the 8th when they play Texas State. I think the winner of that game probably wins the West this year, and that may be the key to the season, November the 8th.
Yeah, Phil, let's talk a little bit about those 2 road games you just mentioned, Missouri and JMU, 2 very tough road trips that Louisiana will have to take. How vital will those games be in defining this team's identity and trajectory? If they're able to, whether they split 1-1 or go 2-0, what kind of direction can that put this football program leaning towards the end of the season?
Well, I tell you what, if Louisiana goes 2-0 in those 2 road games right there, you're talking about a team that becomes a playoff contender, because that would be a big SEC win. And then they'd be favored in all the rest of their games. An undefeated season would be a possibility. So if they knock off Missouri and James Madison, look out for Louisiana this year. But I think they can even survive going 0-2 in those games. If they go 0-2 for some reason, and they'll be an underdog in both games, as long as they get past Texas State, then they find themselves in the SBC title game, and they'd have a shot at getting revenge against James Madison. That would still make them a player. So I think it's interesting. I don't know if the 2 games are vital, but if you're going to make the playoff this year, that would be incredible to win those 2 games on the road.
Yeah, and that leads into my next question, actually, was about the CFP conversation. Besides what Louisiana can do, I mean, obviously, if they win those 2 games and they take care of business the rest of the way, that's a great resume for them. But outside of what Louisiana can control, looking at a Boise State or maybe even a Liberty, if they have a great record, what else has to kind of fall in place for Louisiana this year to be in that CFP conversation?
I think when you look at the other teams in the country, there are teams that are going to have 1 loss. Boise does play at Notre Dame. Toledo's got a tough test against Kentucky. Memphis has 1 tough game in there. I think out of those 3 teams in Liberty, you're going to have a team that has just 1 loss. So for Louisiana to make the playoff, I would have to say at least split. They have to get to the end of the season with 1 loss to be in contention. 0 losses would put them a true playoff contender.
Now, I'm going to, obviously, I'm turning it over to more of a broader scope with the conference itself. And I want to go back to your comments on Texas State. And Phil, I love you. I read your magazine every year, but every year Texas State is by really major publications always picked to be a contender in the West and seem to falter somewhere down the season. What makes this season different that you believe Texas State will be a true contender in the West versus the past few seasons where, 8-4 records are nice, but it's still not in contention for a championship?
Yeah, they had some close losses last year. I mean, you go back to that Arizona State game. If you're watching the first half of that game, they're beating Arizona State, and Arizona State went on to make the playoff. They lost to Sam Houston by 1 point. They had the close loss to Louisiana by 6. And overall in the year, they actually outgained their Sun Belt opponents by 134 yards per game. So I think they were better than their record last year. A lot of key indicators are pointing up. Now, a lot's going to depend on the quarterback position, what they get out. And I've got Keldrick Luster coming in from SMU, perhaps winning the job. Last year, they didn't have a quarterback that really had the arm strength to get the ball down the field. Now they've got 3 or 4 guys that can get the ball down the field deep. I think that's going to open up the offense even more. So I don't think they were a true 8-5 team. Not when you lead the team, you have the best yards per game in conference play. I think they are going to be a dangerous team this year.
Now, outside of Texas State, I think an interesting storyline will be Southern Miss and Marshall because of everything that went on with, Southern Miss taking their head coach, Marshall reloading. They're saying it's not a rebuild, but they did take some of their players. So what are your thoughts on Marshall and Southern Miss this season? Do you think that all of that plays into them having a really good season in 2025, or do you think they still have a little bit of work to do to get on the winning track this year?
I think there are more players from last year's Sun Belt champion Marshall team on Southern Miss than there are on Marshall. So I think you're going to see a completely different Southern Miss team this year. And, in the year of the transfer portal, guys, what we see sometimes is if a team's struggling mid-season, they've sort of been collapsing down the stretch. And that's what Southern Miss did last year. They basically got blown out every single game down the stretch. And what's happening is, coaches are players are being contacted during the season. So, it's a snowball effect. But I think with Charles Huff coming in, bringing in Braylon Braxton with them, bringing in the Marshall receiving corps with them from last year, these are the same guys that won the conference championship. And I think you're going to see a completely different Southern Miss team. Likewise, I think you'll see a completely different Marshall team this year. Almost everybody from last year's squad is gone. They've got completely new players. And unlike Southern Miss, which has a whole bunch of Marshall players on there, this Marshall team has got a mismatch of transfer players. They don't have them all coming in from one school. So I do think it's a rebuilding year for Marshall. And I do think Southern Miss will contend for a bowl slot this year. I think they're a much better team than they were last year. And I would say that this year's Southern Miss team would be closer to last year's Marshall team than they would be last year's Southern Miss team.
Well, it makes sense. They have a lot of their players. Of course,
yeah.
I would agree with you. I tend to agree. Before I turn it over to Jerry to close it out with a couple questions, I did want to ask, all of this realignment stuff, I don't know if you call it realignment, but with Texas State leaving, that leaves, one team for us as a Sun Belt Conference to look to replace. Do you think we stay at 13 or move back to 14? And if so, who do you think that team might be?
Yeah, I would have to think 14 would be the ideal thing, Nick, for the Sun Belt to go to. I've heard talk about Louisiana Tech. I know there's a lot of hard feelings when Louisiana Tech left the league, so will they be allowed back in? The one thing I've learned about this conference realignment stuff is just sit back and wait and see what happens. Because if you would have answered me when Texas and Oklahoma left the Big 12, what the state of the Big 12 was, I would have said, hey, they're going to collapse. And, if you would have told me 5 years ago that Cal and Stanford would be in the Atlantic Coast Conference, I would have said you're crazy. So it's unpredictable where these conference things go.
What's funny about that, Phil, is if you look at the past, you look at teams like, I think it was Miami and Virginia Tech. Well, it was one of the first big moves in 2001, 2002, when they left the Big East to go to the ACC. You had a little bit of a ripple effect, but it was a ripple effect that lasted for it was kind of gradual. When Texas and Oklahoma decided to go to the SEC, the domino effect was so catastrophic with every conference involved. It was the first domino effect of just, like you said, teams just going crazy on where to go that poured into the G5 level, and to the point where at least 4 or 5 teams from FCS were added in. I don't think we've ever seen a ripple effect like that when it all began in 2021.
Well, I agree with you 100% there, Jerry. And you take a look at what happened. The Big Ten started grabbing teams, and all of a sudden the Pac-12 is gone. And I got to be honest with you, as a following college football, following all 136 teams, I sort of like regional football. I miss the Pac-12. I wish we had a West Coast conference, not West Coast teams playing on the East Coast teams playing on the West Coast. But somehow, some way, this thing all gets sorted out.
Yeah, it's like you said, I think we just sit and wait. It's very gradual now. It's kind of slowing down a little bit, but it is, like you said, it is kind of weird when USC is playing Rutgers in a conference matchup. That is kind of strange, but I guess we play with the cards we're dealt with. Speaking of conference, let's get back to the Sun Belt real quick. Phil, who are your sleeper picks for the Sun Belt? You know, this year, like you mentioned, Southern Miss basically is Marshall West. Coach Charles Huff brought a lot of his players from Marshall to Southern Miss. I know, Texas State is on their way out, but they always have high expectations. JMU is JMU. A few teams here and there. Louisiana is going to be in contention. Who do you like as far as a sleeper pick? Who's going to surprise some people in the Sun Belt for 25?
Yeah, it's as far as a sleeper pick, I'd have to say Old Dominion is the one that sort of sneaks up on me a little bit. Ricky Ronnie is now in his technically his sixth year. It's his fifth year, playing football. For some reason, they're high in my power ratings. And I tell you what, Jason Henderson, if he comes back 100%, with that linebacking core, they've got themselves a legitimate linebacking core. And ODU hasn't had great success under Ricky Ronnie. They've gotten to a couple bowl games, but they've maxed out at 6 wins. I think if you're looking for a team to step up and do what they haven't done, Old Dominion would probably be that sleeper team. Now, I didn't pick them to win their division. I picked James Madison, went with the favorite there, and I went with Louisiana in the West. But I think ODU would be my sleeper team.
All right, that's a big one. You just said Louisiana is going to win the West, which actually introduces us to our one of our final questions, and we'll wrap it up by asking this: based on what you've seen and all the prep work you've done with the Louisiana Ragin Cajun football team, what is your bold prediction for the Cajuns this year? Will Walker Howard rise to be an all-conference quarterback? Can the defense help clinch the Sun Belt Western Division and win the whole entire conference? Are we a sleeper pick for the CFP? Give us your prediction on what the Cajuns are going to do for 25.
Yeah, I've got Louisiana winning the West this year, and I think if September 13th Louisiana comes out victorious, look out, they are a sleeper pick for the playoff. If they lose that one, drop it to James Madison. I still think they win the West, have a chance of knocking off JMU in a revenge match. So I think it's going to be a really good year for Louisiana this season.
Well, we're definitely excited down here. The hype has definitely increased over the last couple of years. Well, first of all, Phil, Nick, and I want to thank you for coming on and spending your time talking about some Louisiana Ragin Cajun football with us. We know you're a busy man. You've got magazines to make. You've got college football to talk about. But we can't thank you enough for hanging out with us for a little while. And, of course, don't be a stranger. But before you go, please tell us. First of all, talk about your magazine, but also tell us where we can pick up the magazine and tell us where we can find you on social media.
Hey, I appreciate that very much, guys. Now, the magazine is exclusively at 2 stores. It's at Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. Those are the only 2 places you can find it. So if you're driving around, you think you're going to find it at Kroger's or something, no. Barnes & Noble, Books A Million are the 2 brick-and-mortar stores to get it. Now, you can also go online and get it at philsteele.com. If you go to philsteele.com and buy the magazine, I'm going to charge you a shipping charge. It costs to ship things. However, I give you the digital magazine absolutely free, and that's a $19.99 value. Plus, we update the digital magazine all the way through the month of September. So your 3 places to get it are Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and philsteele.com. 360 pages. It's like getting 136 media guides rolled into one. It's really got 3 to 4 times the amount of information any other magazine. And you can follow me on X or Twitter at PhilSteele042. That's at PhilSteele042.
Now, Phil, before Jerry closes it out, I just want to say, 1, I am a VIP member, as I told you, and do that because that is an amazing value. And number 2, I live in Texas, and unfortunately, I got the magazine cover with the either national or got the Longhorns on there. So we need to work out about, picking which region you want to see, because I want to see my Cajuns on that cover next year. No, but seriously, the VIP is amazing. I encourage everybody to check it out. It's a really, really good resource for stat nerds like me. So thank you, Steele. Thank you, Phil.
I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate you being a VIP member as well. We take care of you guys pretty well.
Phil, I got to say, too, kind of piggybacking off of what Nick just said, I remember when I was like 7 or 8 years old at the Barnes & Noble store where I grew up. I remember seeing your magazine this time of year, and it always got me excited for football. And, of course, my mom would actually buy it for me, and I remember for like a month straight, I would just zip through the pages and look at all the cool stats. And it's amazing how long your magazine has been around and how much it's evolved. And and just gotten bigger by the day. And I just want to say congratulations on your success. And thank you so much for stopping by today.
I appreciate that very much. Yeah, 31st year of the magazine. I started when I was 5, naturally, but it's got. I think it's got 3 to 4 times the amount of information. But I appreciate you picking it up when you were young. Tell your mom thanks for me.
I will. I definitely will. So here's to 31 years and many, many more to go. Right.
Yeah, sounds good. Hey, a lot of fun talking football with you. I do a lot of radio, TV shows. We're usually talking top 10, SEC, Big Ten. Love talking Sun Belt football. So thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you so much, Phil. And hey, don't be a stranger. Don't be a stranger. Anytime you want to come on, talk some Cajuns football, maybe when we're in that playoff hunt, come October, November, you want to come on and talk about it, please feel free to come on anytime.
Let's do it. Let's go Cajuns. I love it.
All right, boys, that was a lot of fun. Phil is always so very knowledgeable. It's impressive, really, how much he knows about the Sun Belt, really all of college football. But the fact that we were able to throw questions at him, he knew the players. I wanted to go, more in depth about things like, I think Andy was asking about the cornerback position. I'm a little concerned about that too. What do you see there? I wanted to go more into the wide receivers, which I don't even think that we had the time to go into all that stuff. But it's really cool that he knows the Sun Belt, and you heard him at the end. He's talking about the top 10. He's talking about SEC. He's talking about Big Ten. I love guys who give us a little bit of respect and do their due diligence to come on and talk about the Sun Belt. So, Josh, I'll turn it over to you. Jerry and I, we had the interview, so I don't think there's anything we need to talk about. But anything that you had as a takeaway from us talking to Phil?
I think the biggest takeaway is how much he talked about Lunch Winfield. Potentially being in the Wildcat and run the football. We saw a little bit of that in the spring, and we talked about it here a couple of weeks after spring. And I thought that would be, Lunch has a very intriguing skill set. He can throw the football. He's got a cannon. Can he run a football team at this point in his career? I'm not sure, but I know that if we can get him in the game 5 to 10 times, get him to touch the football, I think he can impact the game, especially with his legs. So giving defenses more to prepare for, having that as a second option, and he can still come in and run a similar type of offense. We're going to see Walker run the ball a little bit more than probably we've talked about, and maybe even more than we expect. But, go back to his STM days, the guy can run the football. He can make good decisions with the ball in his hands, and, that doesn't leave you as an athlete. So that's something to look forward to. I thought that was very interesting. As far as the secondary question from Andy, look, the secondary is losing. You lose Keon Martin, you lose T-Lou, 2 major assets. I understand that there's some trepidation there, but we're long, we're big, we're fast. We got Tyree Skipper on the back end. I know I keep talking about him. I'm not worried about. I think maybe after 2 or 3 games of getting seasoned, I think you're going to have a very solid 6 guys back there. So I know that some of the names are going to be new to some, and we're going to have to work through some growing pains early, but I think their upside is tremendous. Other than that, pretty basic, pretty standard. He talked about Cam Whitfield being back. One thing he didn't mention was that Jordan Lawson is back, and those are your 2 top sack guys and tackle for loss guys. So guys that play in the backfield that impact offenses and wreck playbooks, we have them back, and they're a year stronger and a year better. So, I think the defense is going to be fine. I'm very interested to see what the linebacking core is going to look like. Casey Osai is gone, or is he back? Is Casey back? No, he's back. I thought he was gone. Yeah. So he's a wrecking crew that was in the middle of all that. I know he played, kind of a hybrid position. We used to call it the buck position, but we don't call it that anymore. Star, maybe, whatever. It's going to look a little bit different without some of those big guys back there. Mason's gone, some of your leaders. We have some new faces that we're going to have to get used to on defense, but no, I think we're going to be fine. I think they're going to have some opportunities to grow with Rice and McNeese. So, lot to see, lot to learn. But I think Phil was pretty. I think he pretty much said what we thought already.
I agree. And look, I love Mason, but man, he had a temper on him, and he drew a couple of penalties that drove me up the wall. So hopefully they can clean that up this year. But speaking of cornerbacks, one of my favorite names coming from Washington, we do have a Washington transfer. He didn't play that much over there, but his name is Curly Reed. I think that is one of my favorite names on the team this year outside of Lunch Winfield. Lane, give your thoughts. Any takeaways from that interview?
One thing I did find interesting was that he mentioned ODU as a sleeper. In my episode with Mike Huseman, he and I talked about who we thought was going to be on the hot seat this year, and I mentioned ODU. I was like, if they don't get in the right position and do what they're supposed to do, he might not have a job next year. But outside of that, I feel like Phil Steele is really knowledgeable about the Cajuns and about the Sun Belt, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Cajuns do this season.
I agree. Good stuff. All right, Cole, I'll let you give your final thoughts on it, and then we'll move on to the fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he confirmed everything that we all kind of knew going into it. I mean, Cajuns do have a favorable schedule this year. If they can get past Missouri and JMU on the road, I mean, they're on the path to winning the Sun Belt, and that's really, first and foremost what, our goal is. Honestly, I was excited to hear him talk about the offensive line and how deep we are there because, like you guys know, we're built to run the football this year. And I think he was talking also about explosiveness. Walker Howard, the first thing he said out the gate was he has an electric arm. And the way that you can capitalize on his electric arm is being able to run the football well. So guess what? I mean, I think that he was very spot on with his assessment of the offense. The defense, he made a good point that, the defense didn't start great last year, but they kind of came into their own as the season went on. I expect a lot of the same this year. Like I said on our episode a couple of weeks ago, I just hope we can get after the quarterback a little better earlier. Because that's going to go a long way for the offense. And no, Phil Steele, he's an animal, man. 31 years doing this. He's so knowledgeable across all conferences and teams. It's very impressive to hear his knowledge. And all he did tonight was really get me more and more excited about this upcoming football season in that brand new stadium.
I agree with you, man. And I got to tell you, got me pumped up when you're hearing him saying CFP and that we could possibly sneak our way in there if things go well. Somebody's asking, I think it's Andy saying, is Texas State a must-win game? Is JMU? I think they're all must-win games. And look, we're going to find out a lot about ourselves when we play Rice first game of the year. I don't care about McNeese. I expect that we're going to be McNeese. But we're going to find out a whole lot about us when we play Rice. That will be a huge measuring stick. And I know it sounds silly, but they snuck up and beat us. The guy with the finger up the booty, playing for Rice a couple years ago. We got to get our revenge on those guys. So I want to see them come out hot. And like you said, and like Phil said, offensive line, what we've done with the offensive line, there's not one guy on the O-line that doesn't have in-game experience. And look, Mackie Mayo, I want my boy to play like he's 6'9". I want him to play mean this year. He's too nice, and he's backing up. I get it. But I want my dude to play up to his size this year. That is my hope. If you're listening, buddy, Mayo, do it for me. Show some attitude. Get mad. And if you take a Narcisse penalty, I will not be pissed off. Jerry, that was a lot of fun. I'll give you the final thoughts, and then we'll get to our boy from Louisiana Tech.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for Phil Steele for coming on. I mean, the man is a walking encyclopedia. When I brought up that point about our offensive line and our reputation, especially from the 2019 season where all 5 guys on the line played on an NFL roster or plays on an NFL roster, the first thing he says was, oh yeah, that 2019 team, 6.3 yards a carry. We have 136 teams in FBS, and this man just brought up a random stat from 6 years ago about our team. That's very impressive. That's very impressive, and it just goes to show you why his magazine is so successful. It goes to show you why he has such a strong college football voice. When somebody like Phil Steele says we're going to pick Louisiana and JMU to be in the conference championship, Cajun fans should be very excited about that, because a guy like that who's that optimistic about our team, when he says you beat Missouri, you got a shot to be a sleeper in the CFP, that's exciting to hear. And him talking about a lot of our key players, I mean, it was just there's so much excitement going into the season. I think there's a lot of anticipation to piggyback off of last year. So I'm like you guys, man. I'm like what Cole just said. I'm really excited as well. And first game can't come quick enough. By the way, Rice, look, we owe it to Rice. 3 years ago, like you said, Nick, they beat us and ended our 15-game win streak dating back to 21. And then also they're out of the American Conference. They're the AAC. They're an AAC team. We owe it to them to make a statement. And, of course, who's their athletic director, guys? How fitting tonight the athletic director at Rice. So we owe it to him for all of those reasons. And I think we're going to find out a lot about our team that first game of the season in that new football stadium.
We'll certainly have those flowers brought to him in the press box on game day, Josh. One thing I want to also say is I'm very excited to see Salgado, because I feel like this is his first year that he can probably run the defense that he wants to run, because I feel like we're still in the Lamar days, kind of transferring these last couple of years. I'm looking forward to Salgado this year. I know you're a defensive guy, but I feel like this, am I right in saying this might be the first year that we can see all of his packages and not running it towards the talent that we had under Morgan, but now the talent that we have under Salgado?
Well, he has the ingredients this year. I said that last year and into this year. But we saw more player development from the second half of last year. More player development, especially individual in key spots, than we did in 2+ years of Lamar. I mean, I'm sorry to say it. It just is what it is. I like him. I like our position coaches. I think I've said Coach Giuliani is one of the most slept on coaches here. I've said that since he got here. He's one of our best recruiters. Coach Scott, I think Galen Scott left over this offseason, right? I'm not sure if he's still here, but he's another great developer. And we just saw that. We saw the fruits of their labor come to fruition late last season. So I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that he has the groceries to make the food that he wants to make this year. And I expect to see some of these young guys pop after a few games. They talk running there in shifts, 3 different guys. You're talking about 15 guys that can play. That's a game changer. That's how Billy Napier won games in the Sun Belt Conference. If you can run capable defensive linemen with some girth on them, look, I don't need him to go in there and sack the quarterback, or go in there and give me spells for the starters. Just give me quality snaps. If you can do that, 2 different lines beside the starting lineup, then you can do something with that. That's something that you can hang your hat on. Just own the line of scrimmage, get dirty in the trenches. If we can do that, we're going to win a lot of football games.
Good stuff, Josh. And we're going to do a deep dive. I did put an article out on the offense, have another one coming out on the defensive breakdowns. We'll talk about that on one of our next episodes. But before we get to all that fun stuff, let's talk about, of course, the big news of the day, the meltdowns going around the Sun Belt Conference, and welcome in. I don't know if I want to call him a frenemy. I mean, let's be honest, guys. Adding Louisiana Tech is like if you're from, like, I don't know, you're a Marshall fan from West Virginia and you kiss your cousin. Like, it's not all that great, but it's better than nothing. And I feel like that's kind of how I feel these days about Tech. I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm also not going to jump off of a cliff like a lot of the East teams are going to do. So let's welcome in our frenemy for tonight, Matt, with the Go Tech Please Don't Die podcast. Matt, welcome in, sir. Welcome to the firing squad. How are you?
The firing squad. Yeah, thanks for the introduction, bud.
Not a problem, man. So first of all, before we get to it, how long have you been doing? I know I've seen the name on Twitter a bunch of times as far as the podcast goes, but how long have you been with that pod?
Since its inception. We started as a Facebook group chat between myself and 2 of my buddies, La Tech grads, back in 2014. So that's been going on, 11 years now. But it blossomed into a Twitter account, now X, and a podcast about 5 or 6 years ago. Right before
That's
COVID.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We're going 8 years strong. I thought we had you guys be, but that's pretty impressive since 14. So congratulations on that.
Yeah,
Let's get right into it about the big news coming out. Of course, you guys, which we kind of knew last week, you guys are moving over to the Sun Belt Conference. Lots of history between our 2 schools, lots of history between a lot of schools in the Sun Belt now and you guys. First, let's talk about it from your perspective. When rumblings were starting to kind of surface that you guys might be an option for the Sun Belt, what were the initial thoughts from a Louisiana Tech fan perspective?
Well, I won't speak for everyone, but I think it's fairly obvious to you guys. And for us, it was we wanted to be in the Sun Belt. CUSA is a moribund conference. It's the Titanic of FBS conferences. It's a miserable place to be. There were rumblings a couple years ago that we were on our way to the AAC. There were representatives actually in Ruston. They've kind of gone more TV market and moved in a different direction. So that didn't happen. But yeah, my reaction was this is great. Let's go for it. It's where we want to be. we can get to the T-Mac stuff from 5-6 years ago here in a minute. I'm sure you guys want to address that.
Oh, we're not going to let that go. We will go back to that. Yes,
of course,
absolutely.
yeah. I expected nothing less. So we'll address that. But this is where we want to be. I'm speaking for myself. I absolutely want to be in Sunbelt. I think it's a great fit. The eastern side of SBC doesn't seem to be too excited about us being here, but that just makes it more fun later.
And that's what I was going to ask you about the East. Like, that was such an unexpected response, especially for Marshall fans. I had no idea Marshall fans had beef with you guys until like Friday or maybe even Thursday.
Yeah.
But the response has been insane. And I get that, we have a lot of disappointment because, of course, the Eastern teams want Eastern teams. And it may not be, Louisiana Tech, you guys were successful for so long in football. Let's put that out there. One of the winningest programs in the history of college football. But let's also talk about the fact that you have people like JMU who just came to FBS 3 years ago, and Marshall coming over here and just absolutely losing their minds and saying, you guys were a terrible pick. We should have gotten ECU. We should have gotten Ohio, which you can throw all kind of names out there, whether or not they're even available and want to come. Nobody's going to give up $6 million a year in TV revenue and pay a $10 million exit fee to come to the belt. So there's a little bit of reality that they're not dealing with. But what was your guys' thoughts on just the vitriol that you're seeing from the Eastern Division? It surprised the hell out of me. I don't know about you guys.
It surprised us too. Honestly, I didn't expect any sort of warm reaction from Cajun fans. Why would there be? There's been a lot of hatred between our shared alma maters, at least athletically. But Marshall kind of came out of nowhere. We played them in the CUSA championship back in 2014, lost on the final drive. They've had our number in football for quite some time, but never really had any ill words. Matter of fact, there's a Go Herd Please Don't Die X account that took our namesake. Didn't even bother asking, as far as I know. I'll have to ask the other admins. But as far as I know, they didn't. But we weren't expecting any hate or vitriol from Marshall at all. But all of a sudden, we've become arch enemies, like Batman and Joker or something. But it just makes it more fun down the road. But that was definitely a surprise. No surprise having some ill will from USM, the Mustard Buzzards. That's not unexpected. You guys have. I'd say been a little tepid about us coming in, like you said, Nick. And there was a great article that went up on you guys' website about you get why Tech's here. It doesn't mean you have to like it. I think I'm not sure whom of you wrote that, but said that it was like an eye roll. Your gut reaction was an eye roll. Hey guys, I get it. But you guys, the Cajuns have been a lot more welcoming than I expected. It's been great, and I look forward to the rivalry. I love what the president of SBC has said, that we're building around, regional rivalries. And when you look at the map of SBC now with Tech added, it just makes sense.
Credit to Lane for that article, by the way, because he put that out and got a lot of play on it. So good job, Lane. All right, I'm gonna ask one more question, then I'll open it up to the boys. Let's talk about Tommy McClellan. And I know you, looking back at it, he handled that obviously inappropriately and in the worst way possible.
Yeah.
But that is kind of how we feel about how Louisiana Tech fans and the school think about us. Sure. From our perspective, going back, I don't know how many years. Now, look, we were terrible in football for a while, but let's not forget, we go to your stadium in 16 or 17, or I don't remember what year it was, the last time we played you there. And the guy gets on the PA system as a member of the University of Louisiana system and says, we are the crown jewel of the Louisiana system. Like, just stupid stuff like that. That, again, kind of like Lane said, we roll our eyes at because it's so ridiculous. So it felt like an inflated ego from you guys on our end. And you guys might think the same, because I've seen some, I saw your article, inflated ego on our end too.
Indeed.
So like what, I guess, here we are, and you guys are now, I wouldn't say begging, but you guys certainly wanted to be in the belt for a couple of years, got passed over last time.
Yeah.
Like where, I guess, where did all of that inflated ego kind of come from? And then has it changed? Is it the same old guard? Like, do you guys feel differently about how things went, move up to a level of Conference USA? Like, that is just a few years ago. How has that changed to make us feel a little more comfortable, getting to know you guys and not having that hate. Because I like the hate, and I don't want you to stop. But it
Don't
does
worry.
feel like, from our perspective, you guys have kind of crapped on us for 60 years, and now you're here. And we're the top dog. So kind of talk about that from your perspective.
So T-Mac's an idiot. So let's get that out of the way right away. He's an idiot. We know. he had no business saying something like that. I know maybe some of the other guys, some of the other admins may disagree with me, but it's not even in retrospect. It was just a stupid thing to say. There's nothing wrong with supporting the conference that you're a part of, but that was really kind of a open mouth insert foot moment, especially during COVID, whenever the downward spiral really began for football. I mean, things have changed with baseball dramatically. Things have gotten a lot better there. We've hosted a regional, won a couple of conference titles, regular season and tournament. I think we have a lot to bring in baseball and basketball, softball as well. Football's just in dire straits, but the belt is where we want to be. It's where that I've wanted Tech to be now for a little while. You talk about the old guard. When I think of the old guard, I think of a website called latechbbb.com.
Yes,
which I'm
Jerry
sure you guys
knows him well. He still goes on that because Jerry's
one of very few you are, Jerry. Hardly anybody goes there. In fact, that was a point made on their website today. I'm actually part of it, but I very rarely go on there because it's just the old heads going on about just the stupidest stuff. I mean, I've seen things that they've said like, let's just wait it out in Coosa for rival. I mean, a lot of that might be sarcasm, but with the older crowd, you never know. No, it's just foolishness. We often mock it on our podcast, and for good reason. It's just a lot of foolishness.
Kind of like the Jack thing, right? You just kind of laugh at it because it's you,
why
right?
not? I mean, it's funny. I mean, there's no reason to. There's no reason. At the end of the day, it's a game. It's a game. And my perspective on sports and everything, not just college sports, but professional teams that I watch, changed a lot when I had a kid. There are bigger things in life. And at this point, I'm 33 years old. So I've got other things going on. But Tech is a huge part of who I am. I love their sports. You talk about the ego. I came from junior college. I'm originally from Bossier City, Northwest Louisiana, and transferred into Tech. And fell in love with it immediately. My good friends were going there and talked me into going there instead of LSU, which I'm really glad I did not go to LSU.
Me too. A good job on that. Appreciate that.
No problem. Yeah. Mutual hatred for LSU should keep us together, if nothing else. But the ego you talk about that we feel for each other's programs, to be quite honest, you already know how we feel. You talk about the crown jewel comment made in 2015. I mean, there's nothing wrong with supporting the school. I feel academically that UL Lafayette is a better institution right now because you guys are ranked R1, Tech's R2. You guys have high doctoral research. We do not. We used to. We don't anymore. So I'm not really here to debate that or go on about that.
Yeah, neither do we.
Right.
we don't get into that.
Yeah, so it's still the ego you talk about. I can't really speak to anyone else, but I feel like, at least for me, other than playfully poking the bear with you guys occasionally and just Twitter banter, which is the playground of idiots. I don't know what the language restrictions are in here on ours. It's highly R-rated. I'm not going to just start throwing F-bombs around, but it's just a playground of idiots, and poking fun and having fun is all well and good. And I think that's free game. But you talk about the ego. What ego could Tech have, at least football wise? I don't think we can have much of an ego. Obviously not. The past 5 years have been really, really bad. We lost to USM when they were playing their halfback as a quarterback, for Christ's sake.
I remember that. Yeah. He threw 2 touchdowns against you.
He did. Good job, Frank Gore Jr.
Hey, I can't say anything about that long run by your running back in the first play of the game against us at home. So
Kenny Dixon,
yeah.
Trying to forget about that.
Those are better times. Oh yeah, that was the game where I don't know if it was your head coach or whoever that invited our recruits to come watch to try to sway them the other direction, and we ended up winning by 27 or whatever it was. But we've said on Go Tech, please don't die, in the last several years that if we played the Cajuns, we would lose. I mean, that's not really a debate. The last 5 years, like I said, have been really bad. There's no ego to be had, in my opinion. it would be a waste of time to have it, because ever since the COVID year, it's just been miserable. I'd argue right before that it was getting bad. Skip Holtz was kind of spiraling. He's gone on to great success in Birmingham in that B League. And Cumbie came in, and we thought we were on our way back up again. He got off the private jet and was all enthusiastic. Instead, he's just been a monstrous disappointment and an all-around bad human being. I could go into stories that I'm probably not permitted to share, but he's just not a very good coach and not a very good person.
Hey, Jerry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to turn it over to Jerry because I thought you were wrapping that thought up.
No,
Jerry, go ahead. We got 5 people in here. You got to keep it, land the plane, baby. But I know you're chomping at the bit to talk to him. So give him your thoughts or your questions you have, and then we'll move on.
No, Matt, thanks so much for coming on and talking with us. I did want to ask, you talked about how, you're like you basically said you want to be in the Sun Belt. And I know I'm sure a lot of the younger fans want to be in the Sun Belt. Do you feel there's kind of a divide within the fan base from the older crowd to the younger crowd, where the older crowd's like, we're too good for the Sun Belt, or, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. Whereas people like you are like, please let us in so we can redeem our athletic program. Do you feel there's a divide there in the fan base right now?
There is a divide. Yeah. Like I said, La Tech BBB, another playground of idiots, the elderly idiots. They definitely, I feel like a lot of them don't want to make the, this will be funny, the jump up to Sun Belt. But that's just a stupid take to have. In realignment, it's about survival, guys. You guys know it. You guys have been in the belt for a long time, but Coos is going nowhere. We got passed over because of our lack of a media market with AAC. And this is the only logical jump that we could take. So I've been about it for a while, but there is a divide. The old heads don't seem to really want to go, still mock it, call it the Sun Belt and all that stuff. In fact, I don't know if it was one of you that did it or someone else in Sun Belt forums, but actually took a screen capture of me on Sonoy's show for the UNT Mean Green and posted me pointing at the camera saying, back off, you finks, the Sun Belt stinks. Which I got a lot of joy out of that I was memed. But yeah, I would say there certainly is a divide, but it's stupid to feel the other way than the way I feel.
It's going to be a good Louisiana Tech Louisiana rivalry. Yeah. Josh, let's talk about your thoughts on all this stuff going on. Yeah. What are you feeling tonight? You've been awful quiet. You've been kind of sitting back and listening, but what are your thoughts?
I was told to behave, so that's what I'm doing.
Nah, don't behave. It's officially at 8:00 after dark time, so you're good.
I'm gonna ask 2 questions and I'm gonna get off of here and let everybody speak. But Matt, you seem like a nice enough guy. I don't think I hate you yet. We'll find out. But I hate Tech. I've been hating Tech since I was about 7 years old.
All right.
What I really want to know, and I think a lot of people fall in my category, and it's really I think this is how it should be said. What exactly does Tech add to this conference? And I'll give you some reasons of concern.
Sure.
Now,
let
me hang on 1 second. Let me
go ahead, bud.
Baseball has never won a regional. Softball's never been relevant. I think they went to a regional in 2017. I think somewhere in there. Football hasn't had a winning season in 6 years and has kind of been an abject disaster. Basketball hasn't been to the NCAA tournament since the HW administration. I don't see a whole lot. And then you immediately have the second or third worst athletic budget in the Sun Belt as you join. You have no media market. You share a market with ULM. I mean, outside of a travel partner for the state of Louisiana, really. I guess maybe Arkansas State helps too. What does Tech add to this conference as a new member?
I mean, like you said, you make a lot of good points. Recently, football's been really bad. Baseball's been on the up. We hosted a regional, didn't win it. We haven't been to a super regional. But I feel like that program's only going to get stronger. Basketball rebounded after a couple of bad seasons before we brought Hester in. He had a pretty bad first season, but that's kind of been on the up. Haven't been to the NCAA, haven't gone dancing in 40 years. That has been pretty miserable. But I feel basketball and baseball are poised to be stronger. I have no reason to feel differently, especially with pickups made in baseball through the portal and who we're picking up coming out of high school. Softball, I can't really say much about softball. To be quite honest, I don't watch much of it. My co-admins.
And I don't either. I just kind of comparing it to our bigger four sports.
Ask your boy Sean. He was very excited about winning against some ranked teams in the last 5 years.
Yeah, and then yeah, I'll have to do that. And then probably not though. And then but Nathan and my co-admins Nathan and Evan know a little bit more about softball than I do, and the lesser known sports are kept up by some other members. But I think you make valid points. I mean, football's in the toilet right now. It's really bad. It's not showing any signs of getting better, especially with NIL money and just the coaching staff we have. It's not going to get any easier. So what I feel like we bring is not just the locality, but I feel very strongly that baseball and basketball bring a lot of quality to the conference. I feel like they're on their way up. Can't really speak about softball. Football, it's just such a roller coaster. We had a really great run of 7 straight bowl games, lost the last one to future co-member here. I think it was Georgia State. Yeah, it's a roller coaster. I don't know how we're going to improve there. We'll just have to kind of wait and see.
Okay, so we bring potential and travel partners. I guess that's a reasonable answer. My second question is obviously the branding and the name thing is something we go back and forth on. We have heard rumors that part of the deal was going to be, hey, we'll give you the vote if you respect our branding. Have you heard anything like that? Do you think that that's valid? Do you think that Tech would actually follow through on that if you know anything about their leadership?
I have not heard. I don't know if there's any validity to that statement. I'm not sure. We know how each other feels about this. I'm never going to call it Louisiana. Never. I'm never going to call it U of L or UL. I'll call it UL Lafayette. That's about as far as I'll go. I can respect not calling you guys ULL. It's clearly stated on your proper use website that you guys don't want to be called ULL. I understand that. I see that UL Lafayette's appropriate. I'll go with that. But we're not going to convince each other. You can't convince me to go otherwise with that. I'm not going to convince you guys to go otherwise with that. And who could blame you? I mean, calling yourselves Louisiana gives you a lot more notoriety, gives you a lot more, a bigger name to get out there. So am I angry that you guys call yourselves that? No, dude, I've got way more bigger fish to fry in my life than worried about that. But do I think that our administration will call you guys that during the games? Yeah, probably. I really do think so. I know that the last time we played each other in 15 in Ruston, the score bug said UL Lafayette. I wouldn't be surprised if it did again, but if it said Louisiana, who cares? Let's just play football.
Now you're in the Sun Belt, so it's mandated by the Sun Belt that our branding be respected. So
there you
curious.
Go. I think
how that's going to roll out.
I think they'll do it. I think they'll do it.
I used to announce baseball, and one time your rest his soul, he just passed away. What was his name? Your radio guy,
the legendary Dave Nitz.
Super nice guy. Dave Nitz was the nicest, but he kept calling us ULL or something like that. So I was the PA announcer at the time, and so I started calling him UL Ruston. And they got really upset when I did that. And I'm like, well, it's the same type of thing. But
you should have said lollipolly. That's my favorite.
Said lollipolly. Well, that's a boomer thing. That goes back to the Delphi days, man. Yeah. So, wow. Yeah, we don't want to get into all that. All right, Gilbo, I see your uncle in here chiming in, man. I know he and look, Matt, I will give you the opportunity to ask us some questions at the end. So don't think this is going to be one-sided. I'll give you a chance to get your shots in, but go ahead, Cole. What you got for Matt tonight?
Well, I guess technically welcome to the conference. The writing was kind of on the wall with that one. No, I agreed with a lot of points that you made. I'm sure that you guys are excited to kind of get out of that Titanic, as you called it. I mean, that thing just seems like it's spiraling out of control. They're just grabbing whoever they can to get into that conference. Sure. I agree with you. I'm probably the only person out of the 5 on this pod that really kind of saw what the move was and halfway agreed with it. I'm excited about the rivalry aspect. I like that we're going to go from playing midweek baseball games to playing 3-game series. I think that's very exciting to be able to go to Ruston and watch a series. Have you guys come here? You touched on a lot of points that I was going to ask. First off, how was the fan reaction? You guys wanted to jump and abandon that ship, and then secondly, like you said, locally, it made a lot of sense for you guys to come in as well. So there's really not a lot of questions I have for you. The one that I do have is, have you heard a lot of chatter from ULM fans right across the way? How has that reception kind of been in North Louisiana?
What ULM fans, bro?
well said, Nick. But not really. I mean, their AD made it. I think they made it pretty clear over there that they wanted us to be a part of it. That's a 30-minute drive on I-20. It's a natural rivalry. I'm not sure. It might be one of the worst games that will watch in recent memory because both programs aren't very good right now. But I haven't really, like Nick said, there hasn't been much reaction online from their side. I'm not sure they have much of a Twitter presence or anywhere else, to be quite frank. But I'm sure that it's fairly positive given the proximity, and it'll be an easy rivalry to have. I saw a couple of people throwing out, well, what should they name the rivalry, or what should the trophy be? And I saw
I hate that, by the way.
What's that?
I hate the whole let's have I think the guys in here too, the Pelican thing rivalry, or the I know I did the poverty poll, which I thought was actually pretty funny. My brain
not
worked.
bad.
I think it's funny, but like the duck call thing would be a good thing for you and ULM, but like I hate that. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of that yet. Maybe in a couple years, but right now I'm just like, nope, not into it.
The best tweet that I saw mocking Tech coming to the Sun Belt, I'll read it right here from Go Cajuns at Brady Boudreaux. Breaking news: Louisiana Tech declined the Sun Belt invite because they thought it was a bowl game. That's objectively funny.
That's pretty funny
because there's a lot of stupid hot takes. Because, like I said, it's the playground of idiots. But that was pretty funny. But
Josh, I feel like you're warming up to Matt the more he talks. I mean, I really do.
Well, in the same line, the same vein that we're talking, can we talk about the utter cuckery of ULM voting to get Tech into the league after Tech has done everything they can to step on that institution?
Yes.
I cannot believe that they would vote for Tech. It's unbelievable to me.
Not only that, but
they were lobbying for
YouTube. Come on video and be like, "This is the
loud
way to
about
go."
it." Like,
I can't answer that, guy. Some guys like to watch their wife bang other dudes. I can't answer that. I'm not one of them, but if they feel that way, that's their business. I think I look forward to those games. I live in Kansas City, Missouri, so I'm not going to be able to make any home games anyway. You guys mentioned that the Cajuns are playing Mizzou coming up this year. So I actually hope you guys win that because their fan base is insufferable up here. But anyway,
that's another one. I'm like, they have fans. Like, I've never met a Mizzou fan in my entire life.
When Tech played Mizzou a couple of years ago, back in 2022, it was a packed house. It was a packed house. I think it was the first game of the season. I don't remember. My kid was born shortly thereafter, and everything's been a blur. But it was a packed house. They have really, really strong fans. Their tailgate team was pretty cool. So they do have fans, but they're just miserable people. It's more KU basketball in the city anyway. But anyway, I'm not sure why ULM was advocating for us so much other than proximity, easy travel partner, partnering on advertising, I guess. I've heard ring-a-dings about that on X, but you can't believe everything you read on there because I hate to beat this to death, but there's a lot of stupid people on the internet.
Yeah, man, we need to tweet that out. ULM is the cuck chair of the Sun Belt Conference. That's probably the best thing that we've heard tonight.
The way I look at that, though, from ULM's point of view, because like Louisiana Tech has been very vocal over the last 2 or 3 decades to totally separate themselves from ULM, which is kind of ironic considering now they needed ULM's vote to get in the conference, and now they'll be playing each other. But if I'm ULM and a school is saying those things about me or doing those things or taking action against progress of my school like Tech has politically for a while, if it's to the point where they have to say please and beg Tech to come with them, at that point just drop down to FCS. Just drop down to FCS. Like if you're that desperate,
they are a founding member of the Sun Belt Conference. Look, I'm not. I hate ULM, but they are a founding member of the Sun Belt Conference. They will never be kicked out. If they want to drop out, let them drop out. But I will, to the day I die, defend ULM as a founding member of this conference because we wouldn't be playing where we are had they not agreed to do what they did for us to be here.
I was going to say the same thing until the way they've been acting towards Tech. It's like they're like begging people, like begging the East, please let them in, and I'm like,
because they're broke.
That's my point. So they
but I mean, they can
go to FCS.
I don't know if they can afford to do that.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, wasn't there something that came out recently that they didn't even have enough money to pay their football coach, right? Like
they don't. I don't even
rumblings
know
out there about Vincent, and
I didn't
feel bad for the guy.
I don't even know if they have an NIL initiative. I don't even know if they had an NIL, any type of NIL.
All right, enough of shitting on
All right,
ULM.
anyway,
Shit
yeah,
on
yeah.
Tech. All right, Lane, let's go to you. I'll give you the last word here, and then I'll turn it over to Matt to ask us questions.
Speaking of ULM, just briefly, why did Tech really cancel the bowl game against ULM?
Oh, all those years ago. I remember when that happened. We're talking about 2012, right? The Independence Bowl.
Yep.
Yeah. So on our end, we had been told that there was an offer coming from the Liberty Bowl up in Memphis. It never happened. So we held out, and it never came. Independence Bowl decided that, well, if you're not going to give us a yes or no now, then it's a no. Then we're going to move on to someone else. And that got framed into this whole thing about Tech scared to play ULM. Guy, no one's scared to play anybody. It's a game, so no one was scared. It's just a matter of thinking that there was something better out there, which you guys would probably argue is the story of La Tech's athletic life. And it never came. Fortunately, this time it did. We're off to the Sun Belt. But back there was no fear. These are grown men. No one's scared of anybody. It's just a matter of trying to get to a better bowl game, and the invitation not coming. And I think that I don't recall how good or bad ULM were. They were obviously bowl eligible back in 2012, but Tech had the number one offense in the country, had an absolutely god awful defense. We ended up 9-3 though. It was really sad not to see those seniors go out on a high, or at least try to. But that's my understanding, is that's why we ended up not going.
That was the year y'all played Texas A&M with Johnny Manziel in the
I
final
was there.
score was like 70-65 or something like that.
The final score was 59-57, almost like a basketball score. And that was good old Johnny Footlaw at his peak. Just ran and destroyed us. Good old Mike Evans of the Tampa Bay Bucks was his lead receiver. That was a pathetic. It was 31-0, I believe, at one point. Fans were pouring out. I stayed the whole time. And it ended up being close, and then we missed a 2-point conversion to RP Stewart and lost the game.
I do want to get your opinion outside of ULM and Louisiana. Who do you feel like it will be Tech's biggest rival in the
USM. USM. I really don't like USM. That's a miserable fan base.
Their fans are something, man.
Miserable fan base.
I don't know how I feel about them, because I'm kind of frenemies with a lot of them. Like,
sure,
some of them, a lot of them are cool. Destiny, there are rumors about her and I's relationship, but we're not going to get into that tonight. But there's a lot going on with USM fans and what we think about each other. It's weird, because I want to like them, but then they show their ass, and then I'm like, well, screw these guys.
Yeah, dude, USM sucks. Their fans are really bad,
and it's Hattiesburg.
Yeah, it's Hattiesburg. I've never heard anyone say they were going to Hattiesburg for vacation. It's like It's the Cleveland of the South. But anyway, USM, that's a natural fit. It's a state over. That's fabulous. I feel like you can't really call it a rivalry until you start playing each other, because I feel like we know Tech has won the last 8 meetings in football against the Cajuns. If that were to flip the other way today, I've already told you guys I think the Cajuns would walk away victorious in football. But I feel like you guys are easily a natural rivalry. That's going to be awesome. ULM will be fun. I think Arky State will be kind of fun. They posted one of their fan accounts posted an article about the 1989 game where there were some fists thrown, and I forget the name of the article. It was basically just trying to sow seeds of dissension already, which I love. That's what makes college football so great. So yeah, but I would say USM will be a natural, easy rival to pick up once we join.
We could get into specifics about holding us out of the Independence Bowl game, but you guys enjoyed that, and we sat at home. Anyway, let's not talk about that. I promised I'd give you the floor, man. Any questions you have for us?
Not really. I hate to disappoint you, but I had a busy day at work. Nick, I actually saw that you posted talking to one of the other admins, and I've wanted to come on Ragin Review for a long time.
Because we're cool as shit, man. Come on now.
I would have a beer with any one of you guys. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's a game. Who cares? Like, it's college football supposed to be fun. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Snarp on YouTube. He goes to college football teams and dresses in the opposing team's gear and just talks shit to everybody and raises some hell. And I see how people act at like games like the Backyard Brawl, West Virginia and Pitt, and Florida and Tennessee, and blah blah blah. I'm just like, do you guys have nothing better? Touch grass, guys. It's not that deep. we can be petty with each other online because that's not real life.
Are you a Dallas Cowboys fan or a
hell
Saints fan?
no?
Okay, I was about to remove you from the chat had you
Hell
said that.
no.
Okay.
My dad grew up a 49ers fan. I'm not a 49ers fan. I'm a Tennessee Titans fan through and through, which doesn't mesh well with the Kansas Cityans. I live nearby. I actually live 3 miles
God
from
bless
Arrowhead.
Steve McNair, by the way. Yeah,
Thank you
God
very
bless
much.
man.
But yeah, I live 3 miles away from Arrowhead. Kansas City Chiefs fans are miserable. They're the worst fans in the NFL right now because they've had so much success. I'm not a Cowboys fan. I would rather eat hot dog turds in the rain than be a Cowboys fan.
Last thing I got for you. You ready for this?
Good.
Louisiana Tech. Louisiana's part of your name.
Yeah.
Not that difficult, man. Louisiana. Just learn how to say it. I mean, your school, and I know Josh talked a little bit about this. And you know, honestly, well, we're gonna not call you that, shows a little bit more, you know, not desperation. The word I'm looking for is, I guess the word's escaping me, but it shows a little more insecurity on your guys' side than our guys' side, because we're gonna keep calling ourselves UL Louisiana.
Sure.
What is that? Like, is that just a thing that you think it bothers us? And sometimes
Not really.
we'll chirp back, but
I don't
are
think
y'all
so.
really hate it that much? I mean, just
I think it's because
Louisiana?
there's litigation that's out there that you guys can't legally call the institution the University of Louisiana. You can't call it UL. You can't call it U of L.
Yeah.
So to skirt around that very cleverly, well, it's really more of a missive on the administration. They should have made it wrong for the athletics to do it too. But you guys just went around that and found the loophole to call yourselves Louisiana, which more power to you. At the end of the day, like I said, I don't care. But it definitely pisses a lot of people off, and yeah, it's fun. Do
you
fun
hate
to do that.
LSU? You hate LSU, right?
Yeah.
Call us Louisiana, baby.
Yeah.
Then we're on the same page.
Yeah. No, don't care for LSU. My mother is an LSUS graduate. So they just won the NAIA World Series 59-0 baseball team, which was pretty cool. So I've always supported them, but no, I couldn't care less about LSU.
And yeah, well, you can't care less about Louisiana either, but you made a whole Chrome extension to take it out of your webpage. So we'll just leave things at that. We'll leave it.
Sure.
We'll pick that up next time, man.
And we'll leave the extension up as well.
Matt, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for hopping on with us. We appreciate it. How can folks find you if they're looking for you to talk some shit?
Oh God. Well, if anybody, I'll give my personal one out because there's nothing more exciting than that. I'm on X at DenizensMatt, DenizensMatt. That's where people can find me. I'm not on there too frequently, but when I am, feel free to poke. And then you can find us regularly at GoTech. Please don't die. That's GOTECHPLSDNTDIE, where we post fairly frequently on X. We're not too busy right now during the summer months. During the off season, we have a couple of trivia pods that we do, but we'll start gearing up for football preview and all that. So that'll be kind of exciting. I will say I saw someone comment on here that something about how far has Tech fallen when their diehard fan is on a pod saying it's all about having fun. Who cares? I don't know who you are, but either you're 12 or a deeply unintelligent human being. Like I said, it's all about having fun. At the end of the day, I've really enjoyed this. I've always wanted to come on here. I don't know how the other guys have felt about coming on here, but I thought that this was great. I hope that Nick or whomever wants to come on ours will come over. I think it'll be fun to talk some ball whenever we eventually join the conference, basketball, baseball, football, whatever you guys want. But I hope that one of you will come on soon just to discuss coming on, because I'm sure the other fellows will be chomping at the bit.
You don't have to ask twice. Jerry's in. Josh, I saw you. Were you wanting to ask something? You're good?
Nope, not Jerry. Somebody that'll be more mean.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Jerry be too damn nice.
That is true.
Jerry,
I'll have
with a
nice
tech
guy.
shirt on, trying to make small talk.
Yeah.
Well, like the Georgia State people love me, so I've actually
I can hear Jerry already. Well, when I lived in New Orleans, I saw them at the Superdome and met one of your guys, and he was great. Terry Bradshaw.
Actually, Troy Edwards. I was there in '98 when Tulane played.
Here we go.
You walked right into it. That's
how
on
do
you,
I
Nick.
mute? Can I mute yet?
That's
Well, you guys all seem like nice guys. I'm not going to judge you based on what we write about each other online or any of that.
No,
crap.
we're all secretly jerks. I mean, outside of Lane and Jerry, maybe Cole, Josh and I are assholes.
No, you seem like fine people. My family is historically from Southern Louisiana. We moved up to Bossier years ago to find work, and I've got no problem with the folks down in South Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana. They're a can of corn. They've always been great. When we went down there when I was in marching band in high school, those were some of the nicest people ever. I have nothing bad to say about the people who live there. I'm sure your fans are great. You guys seem like great people. I'm the least likable person that I know. And it comes across very strongly on the podcast. I'm the most opinionated. I'm the most foul-mouthed. I've tried to keep it PG rated here, except for the cucking. I won't apologize for that. But anyway, yeah, I hope that one of you come on the pod. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
We'll arrange that, man. And when you're in Lafayette, we'll cook some. I mean, we can't cook bulldog, but you guys already took care of killing yours, so we'll do something.
We sure did.
We'll have some food for you, and
we'll
invite
baby.
you over.
We're coming.
That's what she said. All right, brother. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. You have a good one.
All right, see ya. Boys, that was a lot of fun. I mean, I really wanted to hate the guy, and I'm sure we'll grow to hate them all, but it really is a good chance for us to get a perspective on how they feel. I mean, we all kind of understood that they all were in a position where, like, shit, we have no other choice, so we have to like it, but you know, I think it was a fun time, Josh. I feel like you wanted to say so much more, man, but you're being so quiet. I don't like this Josh, man.
Dude, I mean, you know, if we get to a segment where we get to give our opinions on adding Tech and what it means for the conference and if it's good or not, then yeah, I'll let it rip. But it would be way too easy.
Well, we'll do that now, dude. Like, tell us what you think.
It would be way too easy for me to get personal with that guy, and it's not his fault. He's just a fan. I'm not gonna unload on that guy. I haven't had an outlet to say what an abject disaster I think this is for our conference.
Okay, well, this is your outlet. Tell us.
Well, I'm saying that's why I've been quiet. But if it's my turn to give my opinion on adding Tech, I think it's short-sighted. I think it's lazy. I think it's detrimental. I think it is. It's if this is how desperate we are to add a 14th member is the institution in Ruston, who is, I mean, there's no other way to say it. They're broke. They're spending their budget right now is $25 million, which is around what ULM is spending. I mean, I think this year we're going to spend $42 million on athletics.
Yeah, and our budget was what? I mean, we could go into why that is what it is.
The last time we played Tech, they had a larger athletic budget than we did. I think it was like 31 to 27. It was somewhere in there. Or when in the HUD years, it was like 31, 32 to 27, 28, somewhere in there. So talking budget, I mean, that's really bad. $24 million. That's a current CUSA budget. They will be in the bottom three immediately when they join the Sun Belt. They add no real TV market. It's the same ULM market. Their brand has taken such a hit from joining the new CUSA, or I say joining, staying in the defunct CUSA and all the things that they did to that league. Their brand has taken such a hit by being an abject disaster on the football field. We're not talking about a couple of 5-7 seasons. I mean, I think they had a 2-win season a few years ago and got embarrassed by Georgia Southern on a national stage the last time they had a decent football program. Again, we talked about Southern Miss beating them without a quarterback. Their football program is in shambles. We don't talk about that enough because they've been what? Irrelevant. The fact that we're putting our hand down to pull them up is stupid. It's stupid to make them relevant again when we have our boots on their neck, and all they're going to do is come into this conference and be a competition to us. They're not going to help us in any way. We're going to save $400,000 on travel expenses? Great. That's a fraction of our athletic budget. And in 5 years, when the Eastern schools want to break off and do their own conference and the West is stuck with freaking Ruston as one of our member institutions, nobody's going to give a shit about $400,000. It's short-sighted. It's going to save us some coins, sure, in the intermediate time. But looking down the road and having vision would tell you we need to think outside the box. Ruston is not the answer.
But
that's just my basic thought on it.
But here's my problem. Do you want to stay at 13? Because I don't want to stay at 13. But there's literally, who else do we go? Well, because it makes it clunky. Or, I mean, everybody wanted ULM to drop down. Okay, we go to 12. But I felt like we needed to add someone. Why would you stay at 13?
If you stay at 13, get rid of the divisions.
You can get rid of the divisions, which a lot of people don't want anyway. But just think about it like this. I mean, if you have the option of two bad decisions, why make Why make a bad decision just because it alleviates some pressure immediately? Why do we always 400 could get us a
Well, this is true.
dude. I think it would cost a lot more than that, but I'll say no more than that. But I think that just because it's you don't need to make a bad decision just because it's the immediate decision. Tech has been knocking on the door. There's a reason why when the AAC came to Ruston, they said hell no. You know, every conference that Tech has been in recently has collapsed or mutated into some horrible version of itself. Think about all the East schools that were in Coosa with them, with the one of the original Coosas. They all voted no, or they were going to vote no, and then all of a sudden, like in a week, we got the Eastern Bloc flipped. I have no idea why. There's got to be a reason why. Jerry and I talked about this already. I don't know how they got all these Eastern schools to flip. Maybe we held the fact that we let ODU and those other further Eastern schools in when it didn't really help the West. Maybe we had that on them. I'm not sure. That's just kind of me guessing, but they add absolutely nothing. I asked Matt the question, what about your programs is viable in this conference? The answer is none. His answer told you what it was. Potential. We're potentially better in baseball. Do I think that their baseball program is ass? No, I don't. I think it's fine. They still haven't won a regional. Ever. Think about that. They have never won a regional, folks. We have been to the College World Series, and we're going to talk about baseball. Their only up-and-coming program as a program that has never won a regional. And they could talk about their recent success with us. They've beaten us in midweek games where we're throwing our 17th pitcher to try to figure out if he can throw a fastball over the plate. That's what our existence has been over the last year or so. So this is complete, like, to put the two and compare the two, it's really not apples to apples. It's the same thing as when we play TSAB and they're like, oh, well, when y'all beat us on Tuesday, it doesn't mean anything. And to a certain degree, they're right. And I feel the same way in a lot of ways when we play Tech. Do I want to beat them? Sure. Is there still a little bit of animosity? Sure. But, and I made this comment on the board, fans that are like 35, 36 and below do not hate Tech the way that we do. They weren't around for the McClellans, and they weren't around for them keeping us out of the bowl games and all the branding issues and the way that they always tried to talk down to us and tried to use their delusion of grandeur to make us worse than we were. At the end of the day, it's about having fun. Well, hey, look, I don't disagree with them. In my older age, I would say the same thing. Yes, it's about having fun. But if you're asking me about the reputation and the prestige of this Sun Belt Conference that we've been telling ourselves for the last, 7-8 years? Oh, man, Sun Belt has come so far in baseball and basketball, the new member additions, all this stuff. We've come so far. Football. Well, you just told everybody that you haven't come as far as you thought because you had to add Tech to stay viable. And that's what it comes down to that for me. You didn't go add an ECU, and I know ECU's on the eastern side, but I'm just using them as an example. ECU would be a reach up and pull into the conference, and everybody would say that's a home run. We reached down, we grabbed Tech out of complete and utter, it's not even mediocrity, it's complete irrelevance. And we pulled them up to a league that's going to make their school better, and in turn is going to make us worse. I don't see how you rationalize that. I think, if I could sit down T. Joe right here in my office, I'd say, what the hell are you doing? I know you're probably on your last leg, but this is easily, it's so transparent. It's a political vote. That's totally politically motivated. If the AD walked into your office and said, well, T. Joe, we're going to save $400,000 to $500,000 on travel expenses. My very next question would have been, what part of that what does that look like in a percentage form of our athletic budget? And what does it look like and how does it benefit me in 5 years? But he won't do that because he won't be here. So it's just a poor decision by an administration that continues to be short-sighted, and we never look ahead, and it just pisses me off. We've been dealing with this as long as I've been alive and following the Cajuns. Just another one of those moves. That's.
Don't you feel like there's more to I can't imagine that it's like Louisiana Tech is it. One, that, and two, you talk about ECU, and I hear Marshall fans, well, we should have got an ECU and this team and this team and this team. ECU ain't paying $10 million to leave the AAC and losing $8 million in revenue a year to come play in the Sun Belt, and that's the problem.
That's
like
right.
if whoever's in charge decided we have to have another team, we cannot stay at 13, and all the presidents agreed on that part, then who do you pick? Western Kentucky? We've heard that Western Kentucky didn't want to pay their exit fee, so we're screwed there. Ohio? I don't want to play Ohio or Toledo. Like if they come in at 15 and 16, okay, then whatever. But who else is there is my question. Sam Houston, ooh, we're going to be really pumped about that. That might be a worse addition in some people's eyes, but to me, that's better. I don't know.
I think Sam Houston State's a much better option, and I'll tell you why after Jerry goes.
I agree.
Well, and Toledo wanted to come in as a football member only, which I think is even more arrogant than what we've claimed Tech to be, because we made a deal. Well, we got rid of Little Rock and UT Arlington to bring in the 4 other schools because they didn't have football. The deal was, if you want to come to our conference, you come as a full member and you have football. And the fact that Toledo even entertained that, maybe I'm not saying, maybe I'm going a little too far to say it was arrogant, but they should know if they want to come join our conference, you better come as a full member. Don't just come in football and make it convenient for you and go back to the MAC when it's baseball and basketball season. A deal's a deal. You come in as a full member. And I just right now, Josh, I understand your points. The only issue I have is I don't know. Now, y'all mentioned Sam Houston, but outside of that, I mean, Western Kentucky doesn't want to pay their exit fee. I'm surprised they didn't say anything about coming as a pair with Middle Tennessee. The question is, where else do you go if you want to go to 14, or would it have been worth it?
We know what he's about to say, and it's in Florida.
Not ready yet.
Have 5
not
years.
ready
We don't
yet.
have 5
It doesn't
years.
matter
Not
if
ready
they're
yet.
ready or not. You can make them ready. We could have made that happen. First of all, if this was on the horizon, it's a lack of leadership that we didn't have a plan in place already, and that's a whole other conversation, and I'm not going to go down that road. Sam Houston State is better in every way than Tech, and I'm going to just name a few. Enrollment, endowment, TV market,
Success
Ruston
in the last 10 years.
Nobody's going to Ruston. That is not a tourist destination whatsoever. At least you can sell the Houston market to somebody. I think more of our fans would go there. Anyway, recruiting base, recruiting footprint. We keep Texas in the fold. All of those things are more desirable than Ruston, Louisiana. All of them. Did we have a conversation with them? I have no idea. Was there interest from them? I would think they would have been, but again, no idea. I don't know what the options are. Obviously, I'm not in those conversations. However, I'm just telling you all of the concerns that I have as a Cajuns fan and a Sunbelt fan in some ways, but as a Cajuns fan, Sam Houston State has never tried to drag my program down. I got no issue with Sam Houston State fans or their administrators or anybody. Anytime we've ever dealt with them, it's always been positive. Ruston has a very long track record. I would say even 6 decades, including the man who is the president of their university right now, as recently as just like a month ago, talking about how it is ridiculous that we're breaking the law and using the Louisiana branding. The president of the university is doing this, and we just voted this guy's program to join our conference.
He's following him on Twitter. You're ruining it for me, man.
It is a complete cuck move. As far as I'm concerned, there's got to be. Have we talked to Southeast Missouri? I mean, they've been a quality program across the board. I don't know what the money looks like, but it would have been a decent regional fit, I would say. But again, without knowing all the specifics, I'm saying Ruston. There's no way that you allow yourself to get into a position where Ruston is the only option, and that is my biggest issue with leadership and how this all played out. And again, why did the entirety of the Eastern Bloc want to vote them down just a couple weeks ago?
Well, that's a whole different conversation. I think because they didn't want anybody. And that's why I'm saying there's got to be more to this. It can't just be, well, we just decided to agree we'll take Tech. There has to be something else down the line we don't know about. I'm hoping. I don't know. And if I had any confidence, I'm getting so much trouble by saying this. If I had any confidence in the leadership in this university, I could say, well, remember when Tulane allowed Louisiana Tech to join Conference USA because they knew they were 1 foot out the door to go to the AAC? I don't have the confidence in my athletic department that they're praising the fact, as we were talking about, we're saving money. Like, that is another conversation we need to dive into, because if we're in the same boat as ULM and saying, yay, this is great because we get to save money, that's a bad position to be in. And I don't think that's something we should be happy about. That should be something we're trying to fix.
The best point that Josh made, and I want to go back to it real quick, was how strong the East is in the Sun Belt right now. And I agree with you 100%, Nick. There had to be a concession made to flip those votes. And I'll say this, if getting Tech was as the 14th member is the end goal, I can truly see as a Sun Belt, fan, these Eastern teams breaking off in the future, because I agree with you. Louisiana Tech ultimately adds nothing. But I think there had to be some concession made to get them to flip those votes. Now, whether it's, who we vote for on the 15th and 16th teams, maybe, probably. But the point is that's why I think we'll get to 16, because these Eastern teams are not going to be happy with sitting at 14 when Louisiana Tech was your last member, because you're exactly right. You gave them a lifeline when they didn't really need one. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And I think we did them a massive favor, and I think we need to add on, because, these East teams are not happy, bottom line.
Well, to your point, so if we were scraping the bottom of the barrel and found Tech, what are the other two that we're adding? I agree that we got to get to 16 now, because Tech can't be the last one. We can't be the last ad. We need to grow. But who are these next two? Are we going to go more central geography? Are we going to try to get the ECU? I think from what if I'm just a business person within the Sun Belt ecosystem, I'm thinking what makes sense to me. The East is so much stronger than the West at this point. The Eastern schools try to, after the AAC breaks down and half of their membership moves on to a bigger conference, you take the leftovers of the AAC, most of which are on the east side of the country, you put them together with the SBC East, and you got another coastal region worth of good travel and familiar foes and schools that have history with each other. That makes absolute sense, and they would be a freaking powerhouse. What does the West do? The West is screwed.
Correct.
And we're going back to the Gulf States Conference. That's what
Correct.
it is.
I agree with that. And somebody just made the comment, you got to wait for the AAC to fall out. It really won't, because even if they fall out, like you just said, they're just going to cherry pick from the Sun Belt. And those Eastern teams that have all that money are just going to go. And so the AAC is in I'm not going to say a great spot, because we know the writing's on the wall for them. They're going to lose some key, members, but they're just going to reload with some of the best Sun Belt members that we have. So the AAC will really never fall out. You just said, you hit the nail on the head. The West and the Sun Belt, if we don't make the correct moves going forward soon, we're going to be left to fend for ourselves, and we're just going to be doing this whole Sun Belt Conference reload all over again, like we had to do in 2018, 2019. That was miserable, because listen, it's almost like the transfer portal. Yeah, we hit on all these teams that we brought up from the FCS. We hit on, Coastal and, all of those guys. But if we didn't hit on them, we would be where the, Conference USA is right now. So I don't want to redo that all over again in 3 and 4 years. That would be miserable.
I would like to go back to Carl Benson. Carl Benson, the further we get away from Carl Benson's commissionership in this conference, the better his decisions look. Jerry keeps talking about West Florida not being ready. A lot of people said that about Georgia Southern. A lot of people said that about App State. They said App State's football was in place, but nothing else. Hang on, let me finish. App State's football was absolutely ready to go. No problem. The rest of their programs were not. When they got into the Sun Belt, it took them a while to get traction. Football immediately fit in. Everything else took a while to get traction. If I am Carl Benson, I am looking at the map right now, and I'm saying, I know Rustin's history with UL and all the rest of the conference mates that they had. This is it's a stopgap. There's a hole in the boat. I need to stop the water from coming in. Do I make that decision, which he could have done when he invited App State, Georgia Southern, and Coastal? He could have done that back then. There was some ready-made programs that made sense. But what he did is he looked ahead. He had some vision. And I'm not necessarily saying you got to say West Florida, that you got to invite him. I'm not saying that. I know it's a little bit of a pipe dream. I'm not an idiot. I'm a reasonable guy. However, I don't think it's all that ridiculous to say if the AAC is going to fall out in the next 2 years, which everybody expects, the AAC falling out will trigger the Sun Belt Conference to break into half. I'm telling you it's happening. It's like the worst kept secret among all the conference mates and all that stuff. If you go ahead and start priming a West Florida type school, doesn't have to be West Florida, could be something like that, a proxy, something like that. If you start priming those institutions who have already applied to be D1, that is the next move. As far as I see it, we've already done these reruns of conferences, and we are going backwards. We are going backwards without the good teams like the Houstons and the Memphises and the Tulsas that we used to play. We're getting all the leftovers. And if we don't make some bold moves, and I'm talking about like in the next 5 years with all the different laws that are happening and the different legislation and the NIL and how schools are going to be paying their employees, because that's what they are. If we don't make some bold moves now, we're going to find ourselves in complete and total irrelevance, and it's going to happen quickly. It's going to happen swiftly. We've got to be Carl Benson. We got to think ahead. We got to start inviting people that maybe not a household name, but have all the intangibles and the potential that nobody's talking about right now. That's all my point is. Ruston is a stopgap, and if we don't add on, we're going to be in bad shape.
Well, the point I want to make about West Florida, again, look, they have all the potential in the world. There's no doubt. I've mentioned this to you. We talked about this over a year ago. The big difference between whenever we invited App State and Georgia Southern compared to West Florida was App State and Georgia Southern were Division I schools, and they had national championships under their belt in football. And App State's basketball team was actually very competitive, being in North Carolina. I think so. They were
10 national championships,
but they're in Division II. They didn't make the thing about App State and Georgia Southern. They were ready the second we invited them because they were already D1. The D2 to D1 transition, you're looking at about 5 to 7 years to make that transition. Then you get a probation period for 2 years once you get into Division I. A prime example right now, and I'll tell you a perfect formula, and I'm gonna agree with you on this part, Josh, and I think that this school's doing it right, is look at Tarleton State. They're a prime example, right? So they were Division II, and actually they were in talks, to your point, in 2021 of eventually moving into Conference USA while making the transition. The thing about West Florida is they have to show that they're ready, and they got to say, look, they have to come out with a timeline today if we want to entertain what you're saying. And I do think they have potential. That's the ball's in West Florida's court.
They've already reached out. So,
okay, well, good. I mean, as long as they have a goal in mind, I wouldn't mind entertaining it. But another thing too, is I think what we're seeing in conference alignment right now with all these schools moving, what we're seeing today is going to be completely different in 2 or 3 years. I mean, it is very, very fluid. I know they're talking about the AAC new TV contracts, I think due in 2030, 2031, but that's going to change. The Pac-12 has 8 teams right now. They just added Texas State to be a full football conference. Don't think for 1 second they're not going to invite another 2 to 4 teams. I think the first schools I'm thinking, if they do that, UTSA, Memphis, Tulane, South Florida, teams that were already being entertained. So that's where that domino effect starts. If they add those 4 teams to the Pac-12, where does the American go? Do they go to those Eastern schools? Do they entertain the Sun Belt? So that's where I think it becomes fluid. The only thing is there's so many moving parts. I mean, Northern Illinois, as a MAC team, is going as a football-only member to the Mountain West. I mean, there's so many crazy things going on right now. I think to really sum it up, we just have to be ready, but we also have to, like as Tony Robichaux used to say, we got to watch out for us. We as UL have to be ready. We have to be ready from a budget perspective. That's where we have to raise revenues. We have to get ourselves in order because it's almost every school for themselves. There is no more, we're going to go with this team and that team. It's so fluid that every school has to be on the lookout to be prepared to make this move. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if the AAC makes an invite. Don't be surprised if they go after a Georgia State for that matter, depending on the market. So it's just one of those situations. Everybody has to be ready.
Here's the problem I have, Jerry, is that instead of me hearing from people within the administration saying, we're getting our ducks in a row, we'll be ready for the next realignment. We got, we're gonna increase our marketing to the community. We're gonna try to get more dollars for NIL, et cetera, et cetera. Revenue sharing's on the way. What I'm hearing is, well, we're gonna save money so we can participate in revenue share even more. Like, that's not the answer I want to hear as a fan. I don't want to hear, oh, we're gonna get to give more revenue sharing because we don't have to travel one football game a year. We can just go down the street. That's not giving me comfort in thinking, oh, we're on the right track to position ourselves to be in the best position. So I get what you're saying, Josh, that in the end, there is nothing that gives me comfort to say when the AAC comes calling that we're going to even be considered because we're becoming complacent with, oh, well, we're good with ULM and Tech. Now, unless, again, when CUSA went through their change and Tulane allowed Tech to, they knew they had one foot out the door. We don't. Like, there is nothing that tells me we have had any conversation with the AAC or even in a conversation or even a thought on our end that we could do that, because we're focused on saving money from travel by inviting Louisiana Tech. That is where I get the concern, Jerry.
The elephant in the room, and I think, you know, and I've mentioned this before, and I know we've talked about it, but the elephant in the room is the question of how, and it's inevitable. It's going to happen. I mean, you heard some of the comments made in the SEC Media Day today, but when, not a question of if, but when does the P4 split to create their own league? That's the $1 million question, because once that happens, that's where the wheels start turning and that fluidity I described really starts coming into fruition, to the point where schools, where I say we have to watch out and watch out for ourselves, we're going to have to position ourselves in a way that's going to help us bring in the biggest revenue, because once that split happens from the P4 creating their own league to a G5 setting, that's going to be a matter of, okay, so we obviously aren't getting the $60 million contract with the SEC. So where can we get, instead of the $2 million deal, a $2 million contract with the Sun Belt? Where can we go get the, I don't know, the $6 or $7 million deal with the AAC? I think it's almost to the point where we're kind of the remaining 60 schools to where we position ourselves once that split happens, because it's going to happen. I mean, it's already set up. I mean, there's a reason why USC and UCLA are going to the Big Ten. They didn't go, you know, Stanford didn't go to the ACC because they like the beach out in North Carolina. They're going because they know that those P4 schools are eventually going to create their own league and they want to be a part of it. So that brings the question of and at our level, you know, where do we go and how do we position ourselves to get the next best thing once that actually happens?
Josh, I'm going to give you the floor in this question, because I know.
Just kick this idiot out of the space.
I'm enjoying it. He wants the Pelican Cup, man. He wants the 3 schools to compete for something.
No, you're dumb. Y'all sound like Texas. No, it's a stupid comment. I'm not even going to waste my time on it. This is the thing. We have never just been bold and looked out for ourselves. We've always tried to coalition build, which there's power in that, but sometimes you got to step out. And this is the time to step out. We got to be bold. The people that are going to make it in this reshuffle that's coming are going to be the institutions that are willing to take risks, willing to put themselves out there, and willing to take like unprecedented amount of you know, not doing things the way we've always done it, not sending PowerPoints to Kusa, not backfilling with Rustin. This is another thing. It just, I'm pissed myself off again. But look, I think that this is the best administration we've probably had since Terry Don as a whole. I still have major disagreements with a lot of the things that we do. But top to bottom, it's probably the best administration since the early 80s. And I think that, our facilities are better than they obviously ever have. We have never been in a position to actually lobby a conference for participation and actually bringing real value to that conference. Our interest is I think we've done a decent job lately of getting new interest with younger fans at the demographic that you want, that 19 to 36 demographic that is so valuable to any advertisers and et cetera. We've done a good job of investing in our broadcasting abilities. Now, we're not where we should be, but we're better than we were. I think that we add value. When we are on TV, numbers show up. We've been able to do that nationally. Baseball, football, and even our basketball game against Tennessee had a nice number in the NCAA tournament. We've got to start sending out packages. I don't care if it takes 3 years to get somebody on the phone. You got to start now because it's coming, and you got to have a backup plan. And Tech is not the backup plan. Backfilling with these AAC fallouts from when everybody moves up to the next big conference. That's what the East is going to do. What are we going to do? Are we going to go west? Are we going to try to go back to the AAC or get into the AAC? Are we going to try to get on Tulane's coattails? I'd be fine with that. Let's get a hold of Tulane's administration and start making friends right now, because they've done a fantastic job in the last 10 years of elevating their brand and staying consistent and investing in the right things and making the right relationships. I'm not ashamed to say that at all. I think that Tulane has done everything they need to do to get where they are, and I think their next step is going to be a massive one. If we could somehow drift off of their progress, I'd be fine with that. But just to say, if anybody thinks, like the radio guys out here saying, oh, we're in a great spot, we added Tech, this is going to be fantastic, oh, God, everything's wonderful. If people believe that, long term, you're just not paying attention, and you're not learning from history. Another big shuffle is coming. We have to be on top of it and way ahead of the game this time. If not, we're not going to survive.
There is nothing in the past that gives me any encouragement that will happen. Hopefully somebody changes my mind. But again, I don't have any real good feeling about what's coming for us. But we'll see. This is, as you said, the beginning of a lot to come. Boys, I will not go around the horn because we're knocking on 2 hours, so I do want to close it out, but want to thank our sponsors, Award Master, Dr. Brett Venable, Lafayette Roofing. I see Darren Domingue there. I see you, man. Eat Lafayette, brought to you by Lafayette Travel, and Ragin Hydration. As always, please give our sponsors a call if you need any of those services, and also like, subscribe, especially on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. When we hit 500 followers, I will personally give away an Apple TV so you can watch those ESPN Plus games and not have to steal them from, what's the guy's name? Cajunomics. Maybe we'll start that again in the fall. Boys, it has been a lot of fun. Thank y'all for jumping on. I know this lasted a lot longer than we anticipated, but I think we all had to get some things out about what's been going on. And of course, Phil Steele was awesome as well. For Josh, for Jerry, for Cole, for Lane, I am Nicholas. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night. We'll be back soon with some breakdowns of Louisiana football in the upcoming season. Until then, hope you have a good evening. And as always, go Cajuns.